Welcome to another edition into the Invest Podcast. I'm your host, John Ross. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. My next guest that I have the pleasure of speaking with has spent over 20 years in the entertainment business, interviewing some of the biggest names in music and film. While doing all of that and finding tremendous success, he still wasn't happy. He set out on a mission to find out why we are the way we are. From that and figuring that out, he decided to found the self-love revolution. This guest believes that self-love is the most important skill that we are never taught. He actually believes that this is actually the missing link to true and complete happiness. I want to welcome Jonathan Troen to the Invest Podcast. Jonathan, how are you? It's an honor.
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Hey, Jonathan, before we start, I always ask my guests to tell me where you're calling from today. And Jonathan, where are you from?
I'm from Boston now, Boston, Massachusetts. It's funny because the two cities sound alike. So I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and I live in Austin, Texas.
Okay, so you're from Boston, but yet, right, you live in Austin.
Live in Austin via 20 plus years in Los Angeles.
Okay, so with you, I know you pretty much got your start in entertainment, and your first job, would you work in Boston and you were in the radio, am I right?
My very first job was in radio. Yeah, at a radio station. It was a big. They're defunct now, but they've changed formats. But back then, it was the number one radio station in Boston. It was a rock and roll station called WBCN, one of the groundbreaking stations back then, and I loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah, so based on what I read, is your work actually took you from Boston. I know you traveled, you worked in England at some point. You're in Spain at some point. Español, muy bueno.
Hablo poquito español.
Mi poco. And you were in Denmark as well, so you were well traveled. Am I right?
Yeah, I moved to Denmark. I worked at a radio station there for a while. I got kicked out for being an illegal immigrant. So I flew down. Well, I hitchhiked down to Spain. Lived in Spain for some months. And it's interesting. Then I moved to LA, where I worked in the entertainment business for a while. I started an online music company, one of the first ones. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing this up only because you were mentioning the traveling. Mm-hmm. And what I thought I was doing back then, I wanted to experience the world and go to new places. And that was a part of it, I would say. But looking back on it, years later, what I was really doing was I was running away. And I things weren't perfect in Boston, but Denmark's great. Let's go to Denmark. And I met some people there, I had friends, so I moved there. And it was great when I got there. But then, these voices started coming back up in my head, talking to me. You're not good enough. It doesn't matter all the great stuff you're doing. Other people are doing better than you and all this stuff. So I moved to Spain. Same thing. It was great. And then the voices came back. Then I moved to LA and it was awesome.
Wow.
The voices came back. And what I really realized was I was running from me. I was running from me because that's the only common denominator in all these places, is that I was there. And then one day, many years later, I realized that and I stopped running.
Within all of that, all these places you've been to, and the success that you've had, in the entertainment business, what led you on this mission of the self-love revolution? Because, based on what I've read about you, based on what I learned about you, you had quite a deal of success in your previous career, Jonathan.
Yeah. So I had paper success. I had the success that they talk about in school when they train us to join the workforce, which is other people telling you that you're good enough, and a decent good enough amount of money in your bank account so that you can eat and do fun things, and a nice place to live, and your nice car. So I had the paper success, and I did everything that I was taught, right? We're taught in school, work hard. When you've worked hard for long enough, you'll be successful.
Right.
And when you're successful for long enough, you'll be happy.
They tell you.
So I worked hard, and I told you about all these places I went. And even then I moved to LA. So I moved to LA, and then I felt I wasn't close enough to the beach, because that's where I was really going to have a good time, right?
Nice.
Love the beach. So I moved from LA to Santa Monica. 11th Street in Santa Monica. I could walk to the beach in 20 minutes. I could ride my bike there in a few minutes. But that wasn't enough. So I'm like, I just got to get closer to the beach. Then I'll be happy. Moved to 3rd Street. Could see the sunset outside of my window. I could have my feet in the water. 10 minutes. Walk 2 blocks, down the stairs, across the sand. But in that walk, 2 blocks, down the stairs, the sand was okay because there was no comparison there. But in those other ones, I would compare myself to all the people on 2nd Street, all the people on Ocean with a beautiful view, and then all the people on the beach that had the really beautiful view. Like they got a pool, and then the sand, and then the ocean. And I really thought for a minute, well, when I work hard enough and get more successful and get that house, then I can be happy. And here's the thing. We were just taught a wrong equation. And it's not their fault. I don't blame anybody for it. It's like, they also taught me an atom was the smallest thing in the world, right? And now we know they're neutrinos, and I'm not a physics expert, but there are all these particles that are smaller than atoms, right? So they just didn't know, and they gave me wrong information that the atom was the smallest, not particle, but was the smallest thing. So they gave us the wrong equation with this work hard, be successful, and then you'll be happy. That's the definition of the midlife crisis, because many people work hard. Now, some don't get success even though they've worked hard. Right. And they deserve it. But others really did get the success, right? They climbed the corporate ladder, or you're an entrepreneur and you had the success. You got the 6 figures, right? All the Facebook ads, get your 6 figures. You got it. And then, of course, once you get that, they ask them, get your 7 figures. You got it. You got the 7 figures. Where's the happiness? This is the definition of the midlife crisis. So here's the correct equation. The correct equation is be happy now. That's what self-love is. Or that's what the tool of self-love helps create. Happiness now. When you are happy now, you are successful. Because isn't that why you're working so damn hard in the first place? To be happy. So be happy. Then you're successful. You have exactly what you want. And when you're happy and successful, man, it is so easy to wake up, to show up, and to do the things that you are here on this planet to do, to contribute, to help other people, to lift other people up. But you got to be lifted up first. Right. And that comes from the inside. And, I realized I don't think I really answered your question directly. So I want to answer it really directly. So there I was. 3rd Street, living the life of my dreams, interviewing the biggest stars in the world, watching the sunset out my window, and I wasn't happy. And I said, what the hell is wrong with me? I did exactly what they told me to do. Work hard, then be successful. I was successful on paper, and then I'm supposed to be happy. I did what you taught me, and I'm not happy. And then I go, what's wrong with me? And that's what this was. This came out of a search to figure out what was wrong with me. And what that search taught me was that nothing was wrong with me. And when I discovered that, I'm like, well, nothing's wrong with me. I don't have to pretend I'm that person there, or try and be that person, or work harder to become like him. One day I'll be like John, like John Smith, right? One day I can just be me. That was huge freedom to be able to be me.
You think a big a big issue with, like you said, a lot of people being unhappy, the basic generic narrative what happiness is it just a lot of people are chasing other people? I want what this guy has. I want what this person has. Like, is that really a big part of it, John?
I think it is. It shows up as comparison. So okay. I compare myself to you. I compare myself to my friends. Do they have a bigger house than I do? I compare myself to colleagues. Did I get the raise or did they get the raise? Did I get the promotion? Did they get the promotion? But that's how it shows up. It comes from a deeper place than that. Mm-hmm. And it comes from how we're taught, and that we're put into these classrooms. And look, I'm not anti-education. I'm the son of 2 teachers. I think teachers are the most important people on the planet. I believe they should be getting the multi-million-dollar salaries, not the movie stars and things like that.
It's a real one-size-fits-all. It's a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, though, right?
Well, we're taught to compare ourselves to every other person.
Oh, yeah.
Like okay. We're taught, hey, look around, and we see it in movies too. You see a room full of people. Right? Look around, all these people. They're your competitors. One of you is going to be the winner. There's no room for number 2. No mm-hmm. second place here. So we learned that there's no room for second place. So you have to work so hard to be first place.
Mm.
And then when we're not first place, because let's be honest, most of us aren't. And certainly if we are in one area, we're not in the other area.
Right.
Gotcha. And when we get number 1, oh my God, we have to work so hard to keep it, because when we fall down to number 2, are we nobody again?
Yeah. Who are we?
So we are taught that we're nobody unless we're number 1. Even the whole idea of a valedictorian. Now that's great. You worked hard to accomplish a lot. Yes. Give us the speech. I'm for that. But to make everyone else feel like crap because they didn't make it there, you're not good enough. You're not as good as that person. And of course, the marketing messages. We have a consumer society, and mm-hmm. I'm not against marketing. Right? I have a mindfulness center here. We market it, but there are industries created by making you believe that you're miserable. Mm-hmm. Because your misery causes you to purchase things that you believe, that they tell you will make you happy. Yep. And we've got it. I got the car, right? We buy the car. We're so happy for 3 days. We got the new iPhone. We're so happy.
The iPhone 12 or whatever. Yeah, we got it.
But it fades quickly. Yep. And then we have to feed it again. So what else can I buy to prove I'm worthy? Well, they told me if I buy that, then I'll be happy. Let me try that one. And it's just a nonstop accumulation of stuff mm-hmm. to make us happy. What I learned in my journey here was that outside stuff isn't going to make you happy. Mm-hmm. It's got to come from within. And I'm not saying don't have stuff. I got stuff. Come down to my place. I got stuff. I enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Not anti-stuff. I probably have too much stuff. I'm not anti-stuff. But what I do know is all that stuff doesn't make me happy. That's got to come from connecting to ourselves and to connect to other people. Connection with others and ourselves is what makes us happy. And of course, it is easier to connect with others if we are comfortable in our own skin first. When we love ourselves, it's easier to show up and connect with other people.
Yeah, that really hits home. That really makes sense. So I want to ask you, when you decided to go on this mission, I know that you had an injury, you had like a surgery, you had started doing like some meditation. I know you went to yoga at some point, and you figured out, you saw like what yoga did for your body, what yoga did for your mind, and you wanted to go deeper. So you pretty much just really come to true fruition with you during that time of that injury, that rehab. You just had time to just reflect on a lot of things. That about right, John?
Well, I got to be honest. It's a long, you write your bios and everyone writes their bios and stuff. And it looks like everything happened so quickly. Right. But I got to be honest. There was a journey here. Yes. I'm interviewing bands and broadcasting concerts. I had a company back then called LA Live, one of the first online music companies, having a great time. And I have a surgery. They removed a rib, kind of went bad, the surgery.
Wow.
So I do a year of physical therapy, insurance, because we have a great insurance system, that's sarcasm, here in America.
Yeah.
So they kicked me off of physical therapy, the insurance company. And then, so my last day, the physical therapist after a year goes, go try yoga. Maybe that'll help you. I can't see you anymore. And I'm like, yoga? You see, what are you talking about? What's yoga and why? Like, I go to punk rock shows. Are you kidding me? So to be clear, I went through this kicking and screaming. I did not. I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna find enlightenment. No, that was not my journey. My journey was, I want to move my arm again. Okay, you're gonna tell me yoga's gonna do it? All right, I'll go to do this stupid thing called yoga. Now I own a yoga studio. That me 20 years ago would be laughing in my today's face if I told that person you're going to have a yoga studio. So what that did was it unlocked parts of my brain that said you can live differently, that you don't have to rage against the world. You can live. There's a possibility to live life joyously. But here's what happened now. Now you got a lot of yoga over the years. I also then got trained in coaching and got coaching myself. So I learned about the voices in the head. I learned about the future self and some of the powerful voices in us. I learned confidence skills. I learned goal setting skills. So now I got a business with me helping others, yoga center. I'm coaching people. Life is great. And then I come across this teacher. So I already got my shit figured out. Right. I've redefined success. I think I've redefined success on my terms. I know my values and things are good. And I come across an amazing teacher called Louise Hay. Now I know others had already known her for decades and I was a newcomer to this. I came across it, I don't know, more than 5 years ago, less than 10 years ago. And she says, go to a mirror and look yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. And I'm like, that sounds really cool. And I've done all this work. So like, I got this. And I go to the mirror. I didn't have glasses on then. I go to the mirror and I go, Jonathan, that's what came out.
Couldn't say it?
I couldn't look myself in the eyes and I couldn't say the words. That's when I discovered that, oh my God, I don't love myself. And it was such a shock to the system that I fell on the floor and curled up in a ball.
That is
like, what just happened?
That's really deep, John.
I didn't try it again for another month because it was such a shocking experience.
That's really deep. I bet if you asked a bunch of other people to go to do that same thing, they probably wouldn't be able to do it. So with that being said, what did you do from there? Like what changed with you from that guy that couldn't say it in the mirror? What did you realize at that point? I got a serious problem here. Did you believe at that point that you had a problem, John?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I understand that. Okay, yeah, I know the saboteur, the voices in my head, but I got control of it. Obviously, I had no control over it. It was much deeper than I thought it was. And with the people I work with, that's like, honestly, most of the people I work with, and this was me. Mostly I work with people like me that we've taken all the courses and we've done all the success stuff. And then we realize that something's still missing and it was supposed to work. So I'm looking at me going, okay, you've done all the work and guess what? Ain't working. So then I had to go on a little journey to discover what self-love really was and dig into it and really dig into the elements of it. And I'll give them to you. Here's what it is.
Okay.
It's acceptance. And you got to begin to accept yourself just as you are. Yeah, you screwed up. Hey, me too. And everybody else around you screwed up. They all did. But we look at people from the outside and go, oh, look at them. And they got it all figured out. No, they don't have it figured out either. What I learned was that no one else had it figured out too.
People don't got shit figured out.
Uh, acceptance, gratitude. Like if you think you're going to live a life without joy, without gratitude, you are sorely mistaken. And I understand that gratitude has become kind of cliche. Do your gratitude journal. I understand that. And there's a scientific part of gratitude. Gratitude releases dopamine and serotonin into your system. This is what the researchers are telling us. So, okay, when you take your phone and you try and check your Gmail one more time because you checked it a minute ago and a new email may have come through, or your Instagram or whatever, that's dopamine. It's a dopamine trigger. Gratitude does the same thing. Holy shit, I can get that from within me. Are you kidding me?
A lot of people don't know that.
Now, this next one was the last thing I fully figured out. And it changed my life. And that's forgiveness. When I learned what forgiveness really was, and they'll tell kids, go say you're sorry. That's not forgiveness.
Okay. Forgiveness
is a feeling inside of you. We beat ourselves up for stuff that we did or didn't do 20 years ago, man.
Yeah.
We replay the story in our head. If only that would have gone differently. And maybe you're not blaming you, you're blaming someone else for it. If only that would have gone differently, that person did something different, or I would have done something different. My whole life today would be different. And we replay that over and over. And here's the thing. Thinking that the past can be different doesn't make it different.
Right.
What forgiveness does is it allows us to give up hope that the past can be different. Give up hope that the past can be different so we can stop playing those stories in our head. Can't be different. I'm not saying it was okay what you did. Maybe you really did screw up. For most things, not. But some things, yes. And maybe that person did something really horrible. I'm not making any of that okay. I'm just saying it can't be changed. And I have a whole meditation that works through healing those issues of the past. But then here's what really changed for me. Because every day we screw things up. Every day is a combination of things that go well for us and things that don't. Every day, some more great things and fewer things that didn't go well, and sometimes more that didn't, and a few things went well. But we're never done with our to-do list, right? To-do list is
always something else to do.
So I came up with this bedtime forgiveness ritual. It goes like this: I forgive myself and anyone else who has hurt or offended me, knowingly or unknowingly, monetarily, physically, emotionally. I wish them no harm, and I release myself from any future pain. Wow. I say that every day before I go to bed. And I picture things. I picture other people. If something is in an interaction happening with someone else, I picture them, and because usually we wish someone at least a little bit of pain, sometimes a lot of pain if they did something that we didn't like. So I pull all that back. I wish them no pain. I wish them no harm. And I release myself from it. So I don't have to take it with me into the night, into tomorrow. It's the biggest change I've ever applied to my life. And then, of course, there's self-love, saying something kind to yourself. So acceptance, gratitude, forgiveness, and just treat yourself like a friend. Just start saying one thing kind to yourself.
How long from that first trip to the mirror, how long did it take for you to actually, that transition, for you to look in that mirror, John, and say, I love me, or I love me just a little bit? Was it like in chunks, or did you one day say, I love myself, or I sort of love myself? What was that whole transition? What was the time period?
It was, I would say, a couple of years for me, because I also didn't really have a teacher or community to do it with. I had teachings, right? Not saying few things that I have. That bedtime forgiveness ritual, I did make that one up. But few things I teach, I actually fully created myself. I am influenced by many amazing teachers. But I didn't know of a self-love group or a self-love teacher like that I could communicate with. Which is why I created the Self-Love Revolution. So you can have it. I'm here for you. So it took me a couple of years, and it started off more slowly. I practiced the gratitude side, which I had already done gratitude before, but, I kind of stopped it. So I brought it back with a deeper understanding of it. And I started off small, finding things I liked about myself. So I couldn't say I love you, but I could say, I like your smile. I could say, I'm grateful that you can see. I could say, hey, good job. I used to review my day before all this. I reviewed my day, and I could have interviewed, Cher, The Who, Green Day. I could have had a great interview, but I'd get home at night and I'd beat myself up for whatever else happened that day. I'd focus on the negative. Now I review the day, and difficult things probably happened, and I acknowledge them, but then I focus on all the wins, the teeniest ones. I watered the plants. I made the bed. I cleaned the bathroom. I cooked the dinner, as well as, hey, great podcast interview, great TV interview, great email I sent out, or something great happened with a client, whatever it is. I celebrate the big stuff and the little stuff. And that's where I spend the majority of my time. So as I started celebrating these things, I began to see the good in me. So before I focused on the bad things I thought needed to be changed. Mm-hmm. Now I acknowledge, okay, you could have done that better, Jonathan. Yeah. But I got your back, Jonathan. Let's celebrate all your successes. And at the end of that, so over a couple of years of doing this, hey, Jonathan, I love you. You're awesome. And something went wrong, don't worry, I got your back. Because isn't that John, what you'd say to a friend if a friend came to you? You'd say, come on in here, man. Bring it in. Give me a hug. Let's have a cup of tea or a drink or whatever your beverage of choice. And I got your back on this. I got you. Definitely. So now I say it to myself. But I'll be honest, what really allowed me to do it was that forgiveness. Because when I just had acceptance, because I had a meditation, obviously the yoga practice before this, and I had a gratitude practice, even though it was on and off. Mm-hmm. The forgiveness practice, forgiving me in the past mm-hmm. and me today, is what really then allowed me to accept myself just the way I am and to say, Jonathan, no worries anymore. Yeah, you screwed that one up. I love you anyway, just the way you are.
So for me, and I was talking about this months back with society, I've been asked this a million times. Hey, what do you do for a living? What kind of car, do you drive? Where do you live? But the one question I always see that's kind of left out of the conversation, Jonathan, is, are you happy? And that pretty much what creates that whole thing of just people just wanting to be accepted. Happiness kind of goes out the window in society. It's just about just that status, and you just want people to accept you, right?
That's all we're looking for, is acceptance. Every human being, everyone you meet, has the need to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. That's all of us, any of us want. Me too. Now, the problem is that we've been taught that must come from outside of us, that I need you to tell me that I'm good enough and that I'm okay. And that if you don't, there's something wrong with me that I've got to change. And what the self-love revolution is about, what the self-love practice is about, and let me be clear, it's a skill. Self-love is a skill. A skill can be practiced, just like playing the piano, just like painting, just like playing basketball. The more you practice, the better you get. So this is a skill. And what the self-love skill, the self-love practice allows you to do is to accept yourself. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't receive from other people. That's great. You just don't have to rely on them. So that, if the stock market crashes right back in 2008, when there was the big crash, I mean, people's identity were wrapped up in the numbers in their bank account. And when that fell, they had no identity. And some of them jumped out of windows. Like, that's
bad.
real,
I remember.
right? So that your job can't be your identity. Your bank account can't be your identity. It's not your identity. You might think it is. It's not. We've got to start asking different questions. Whatever job you have, if you go from one job to the other, you're still you. You are still you. You got $0 in the bank. You got $1 million in the bank. You are still you. Now, yes, I get that it's easier to live with $100,000 in the bank than zero.
Right.
But I'll be honest with you, above $100,000, and it depends what city you live in and all of that. I get it, but they've done the research on this. I've had clients with very little money, and I have clients who sold businesses for tens of millions of dollars. They all got the same fears coming up. How am I going to have enough money? The guy that sold his company for tens of millions of dollars, he's going, yeah, but my banker friend has $250 million. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
We always compare ourselves to the next thing. So if you're not making the six figures, you're going to compare yourself to six figures. If you've broken that barrier and you thought it was going to make you happy, yeah, you figured that one out, right? Didn't, right? You're going to compete. Well, when I get the $500,000, when I get the seven figure, it doesn't matter. Whatever scale you're at, you compare yourself to the next one. You got to change the way you're thinking. It comes from in here, and it comes from you accepting you just as you are. And the amazing side effect of that is that all those other people that you want to accept you, when you accept yourself, they start accepting you. Because come on. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go.
I'll get. So one of the things I read, one of the things I learned is two of the most important days of your life is, of course, when you're born and when you find out why you're here. What is your purpose? How did it feel the day during that transition when you finally figured out, like, you did radio, entertainment, you founded that live streaming media company, but when you figured out why you were really here, why was Jonathan Troen put on this earth to help people figure out and find and embrace self-love? How did it feel when you really found out what you were meant to do?
That's a great question. And I have to pause before I answer it. It felt peaceful. It was, because when you live this, it's not like, yeah, rah, rah, rah. Because, I mean, yeah, you have rah, rah days. I'm not saying they don't exist, but most people, what do they want? Right? They might say, I want $10 million, right? I have a lot of people, what do you want? Well, I want $10 million.
Me too.
Well, $10 million doesn't, who cares about $10 million? It's, why do you want it? Well, why do you want it? So I can have freedom. That's what people really want underneath it, is freedom. What they also don't always know is really what they want is to be seen, heard, and understood. That's a part of freedom, because otherwise we begin to hide. Or we show up overly, everybody see me, look at me. Yeah. That's exhausting too. So it wasn't a jump up and down for joy, but it's like, yeah, I get it. I can own it. I can now, this is what it is. I can now feel myself in my body. Instead of me wanting to be different, I can be here in this skin. Like, imagine you're driving a car. When you're driving a car and you hit the red light, right? And everyone's frustrated because they want to be there. They don't want to be here. They want to be there. And I do this driving too. And I do the same thing, but then I pause and I go, okay, wait, what if you don't want to be there? What if you accept, Jonathan, that you are indeed here right now in this car, not moving, at a red light or stuck in traffic? And when I can accept that I'm here, no longer wanting to be there, a sense of peace comes about me. And that's what this is too. I no longer want to be like that other person. I'm not saying there's not space for me to learn and grow. Hey, every day. But I can be here. And when I can be here, that's peaceful. And that brings happiness. And that is what success is.
Yeah, because I believe, like you were saying, for me, I believe success is individualized. It's what you believe success is, and as long as you're happy with who you are, and like you said before, it shouldn't matter, how much money you have in the bank, what you do for a living, as long as you are happy. Because me myself, I've been in the fitness business, also a life coach, train different clients. I've met people high income brackets, low income brackets, and I've met people that are high earners, and even some of them will say, Jonathan, I'm not happy. And when I first actually figured that out, probably when I was training a client about 10 years ago, and I really didn't know back then that people who had a lot of money, they could be unhappy. I didn't know that, but I learned a lot.
That's what we were taught. Rich people are happy. That's what they taught us.
Yeah, I was like, dang, he has a lot of money. There's a boat, a yacht. He has like multiple six figures in the bank. He's saying he's unhappy. At the time, it just didn't register with me. But as I studied and I learned a lot more, and I start realizing that, whoa, if you're, don't love you, you aren't happy on, the inside, the money, the materials, the cars, the houses, it doesn't really mean shit.
Yeah. And here's the thing, especially for the entrepreneurs who are listening, or even if you're trying to climb that corporate ladder, we think I'm going to work my butt off and I'm going to sacrifice. And, there is a lot of sacrifice. So, I don't know if we have time to get to that whole thing, but, I'm going to allow myself to be miserable now, because I know when I achieve and make enough money, then I can be happy. The problem is when you get there, when your business gets successful, or when you get the VP title or the CEO title, if you got there in this state of struggle, you will be there with all the money that you wanted, and you'll still be struggling. And if you get there with a state of joy, with a state of peacefulness, when you get there, you will have the joy and you'll have the peacefulness. And yes, the money is good. You can do great things with money. It's not that, I'm happy now, so I don't need the money. No, get the money. You can do more good in the world with $10 million than with $1 million. You can do more good with $100 million than $10 million. Get the money. Do good things in the world. But do it from a place of joyfulness and peacefulness, not from a place of, I got to fix myself and I got to fix everything around me, and everything is a struggle. That's not why we are here.
Jonathan, you touched on you touched on a subject that I speak on a lot nowadays. You touched on a subject that I believe that my listeners and my viewers really appreciate. Some of them are going to actually look in the mirror, at themselves and their life and what they're doing. I myself over the years had to look in the mirror at what I was doing, what I had going on. At some point, I was following that generic narrative of happiness. And, I did not love myself. I do now. I found out, and I'm doing the things that make me happy, the things that work for me. I found out my why. You have it, Jonathan Troen, Self-Love Revolution. Jonathan, if any of my listeners, any of my viewers, I'm pretty sure some people are going to be reaching out, because I looked at your program, looked at stuff you got going on. It's completely awesome. How can they get in touch with you? They want to know more. They want some private coaching into your group stuff. How can they learn more about the Self-Love Revolution, John?
Yeah, go to selfloverevolution.com. That's it. Join a community, reach out to me. You can find me in all the regular places: Facebook, Jonathan Troen, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm around. And go to selfloverevolution.com. Click join the revolution and be part of a community of people that are looking to uplift each other. Be kind, with kindness to ourselves right? You go on a plane, put on your own, if the air goes out, put on your own mask first, right? Put on your own mask first. Be kind to yourself so that you can be kinder to others. Because that's what we all need right now.
We need that. That's the Jonathan Troen, the self-love revolution. Jonathan, it's been an honor, but my privilege. I've really enjoyed our chat and our podcast, and I'm pretty sure my listeners and viewers will as well. Hope to speak sometime in the near future. Enjoy your evening, and you take care.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, Jonathan.